close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays.
All right. Hey, everyone. Hope you all had a great holiday, great Christmas, great New Year, whatever you celebrate. We're back. We're back. It's 2022, and the official, what I'm calling the official DevNet Expert grind is starting. We did have some, what I was calling, the road to DevNet Expert streams back in November, early December. But these, starting now and moving all the way through April, these will be more heavily focused on the actual exam topics. Some of the streams in the past were, related topics, but these will actually be covering down to, exactly what needs to be done for the exam. This isn't any sort of New Year's resolution. I know I'm sure people watching will say, oh, he had a New Year's resolution now. Now, kind of the new year and counting out the weeks. I mean, I spent, over the holidays, at least an hour or two kind of mapping out this journey and the individual weeks and what needs to be accomplished. So, going back to that GitHub repository, the DevNet Expert one that, we've been using for the past couple months, during streams, you can see it's changed a little bit. I added a little more focus to the actual topics at hand and the technologies and tools. So you'll see that instead of just kind of having, I think before I had just like scripts and I think that might have been it. I mean, it was or Ansible and scripts maybe. So I kind of broke it down a little further, and over the holidays I realized, like, okay, looking at through the topics, what technologies, what platforms, what tools am I going to have to focus, really learn about? Because with that, besides actually performing and doing the task, I also have to design applications, and having a solid foundation and knowledge of these tools and technologies is going to, it's prominent. We have to have it. So I figured if I break it down by technologies or tools, we'll have more focused files within those directories. So, you may not even find, for example, in like the Kubernetes folder, we may not even find like a single Python script, for example. With this stream having such a focus sometimes on Python, it just might not be in there because it's not necessary. So just wanted to kind of highlight that before we dive deeper. So, hey Ganesh, he says, hey Dan, how are you doing? Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. I hope you had a solid holiday. everything went, you had some time to rest, refocus, and just overall had a good time with family and friends. I know I definitely did. So just to kind of highlight real quickly, get the stream moving forward, right? So the DevNet Expert is set to the lab sessions are set to, the first week that you can test is beginning of May. And there's kind of, I think I mentioned this in a past stream, I've kind of calculated, because you can book up to, I believe it was 3 months ahead of time, that early February may be the first week of registration. So I'm going to keep a lookout for it. That obviously is just something that, a rumor that I guess I can say I started, but I will be looking out for early February probably for registration, because the goal is to take it within that first week. Whether I feel confident or ready, it is what it is. It's happening the first week of May. I'm already kind of trying to get things in line, so it's going to happen. It's going to be a journey, and it's going to be an adventure as well. I know I've personally never taken the CCIE or had to really travel anywhere besides to like a local testing center to take an exam, and so flying to Richardson, Texas to take the exam, and an 8-hour exam at that, all be new to me, and I know it'll definitely take a while, to get used to, the flight there and being in the room with a bunch of other awesome people, very smart people that are also trying to take it and be one of the first. So it will be a really fun adventure, and that's kind of the way I'm taking it. I'm not looking at it from a pass or fail. I'm not looking at it as, I have to pass. I definitely want to, don't get me wrong, and I will be studying, and I will try my hardest and my best, but I really do see it as there's a lot going on and going into this. This is a true investment. So I'm kind of just taking it one step at a time. So with that being said, these streams I'm going to try to continue doing Tuesdays and Thursdays, twice a week basically, but with the amount of studying required and the focus, I may have to reduce some of my streams down to just one a week. It just really depends on where I'm at. And like I said, I've wrote down kind of my goals for every week. I have reading, and then also lab as well. So I kind of have an idea of what needs to be accomplished on a weekly basis. So before I get any further, as far as the reading section, I've already read the Mastering Python Network book by Eric, who's an awesome guy. Talked with him individually, and have done some other collaborative things that you may or may not. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. So I finished his book pretty quickly. It was a solid book. Taught the fundamentals and then dove into some good examples. I'm currently reading through the Cisco Press book, the second one on the checklist, Network Programmability and Automation Fundamentals. That's this book here. Let me pull it up. It's this big guy. So there you go. Oh, all right. So yeah, Cisco Press. It's a pretty thick guy. You can see based on just the spine of it. I think it's around 1,100 pages, 1,100 pages. I've read through the first couple chapters already. It's a pretty solid book. I'll tell you, the first couple chapters are about Linux and the Linux operating system and every little aspect about it, whether the command line, the terminal, how to maintain packages, the package management, everything about it, the file hierarchy. So it's been pretty interesting. It's definitely a lot. Not necessarily something that gets put on the DevNet Expert exam. I'm not going to be tested on what this directory does or what this command does with Linux, but I figure, if I spend, I think I've allotted myself just like this week to finish out all the Linux chapters, which I think are the first 4 chapters or so. It's going to have a good solid foundation for kind of everything, right? So, for example, for like a CI/CD pipeline, you might have a bash script, right, that has small little bash script, but if you don't understand Linux, then you have no idea what it's doing. So anyways, without going further into that, I've been kind of cranking away at that. And then this week, and actually today, we'll be looking at at actually setting up my lab, the virtual network devices, and getting everything stood up. The other thing I wanted to point out, and it's actually not on this list, I found this, or kind of looked through the books I had and figured it'd be kind of a good read, is this book called Clean Architecture. It's by Robert Martin, who I found out was like one of the grandfathers of programming, at least the way I'm taking it through this book. And just to kind of show you what it's this book here, Clean Architecture. And it's actually really, really good talking about software design and kind of the way to architect software. And so I've been kind of reading that on the side as well. I'm actually almost finished that book, and I'll add it to this book list as well. So for those curious about it, I'll add it to the book list. And I think it will help me. That one will definitely help me with some of the subjects or the topics found in 1.0, which is about software design, deployment, and maintenance. And we'll actually jump over to that now. This one here, design, development, and deployment. I'm sorry, not maintenance. But just talking about, how to deploy software, design it for scalability, reliability, and so on. So this book, the Clean Architecture book, has definitely helped me, with this. So, all right, so let's go ahead and dive into what I wanted to accomplish today, which is setting up the lab environment. I kind of went back and forth on this a little bit of using EvenG or CML. I figured I'm just going to use CML. I figured there's a pretty good chance that if they have a virtualized environment on the exam, given the software and hardware requirements, they'll probably be using CML. That's obviously not a guarantee, but I figure there's that, and then also it's just easy to work with. Ever since I got it stood up, it's been super easy to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. Like I've mentioned before, and we've done in the past, this CML instance, it's on a local server. It's actually down below my desk. It's a Dell R620. So it was a used server. Got it for a pretty good deal on eBay, and I'm kind of running everything through that. My VMware ESXi hosts, everything, CML, EvenG, and then my Ubuntu VM. So we'll set up the lab tonight in CML, and then I also have this Ubuntu 2004 image that I'm also going to be using for all my labbing. So instead of using a local VS Code instance on my Windows machine, I'll actually be using this Ubuntu VM. And the reason for it is because this is the actual testing, the VM that will be used in the testing environment. So when I sit down, in Texas, taking this exam, I'll have this environment in front of me. So I want to be very familiar with it. I'm familiar with Linux already, and as I mentioned, I'm kind of already reading about it and getting more details, but ultimately I just want to have that feeling of, okay, I've been using this since January. I should feel comfortable with actually diving into it. So I'll be doing most of the work that we do on stream here will be done through this VM. You can see I already have some things already installed: Wireshark, Postman, VS Code. There's some other things that I still need to install. Oh, I also have Docker as well. It should already be running. Yeah, so I already have it up and running. So I have most of the third-party software installed as well, but we'll also check that out tonight. This is basically this stream, and most likely Thursday will be focused on kind of just getting this solid lab set up. I expect it to be, not as technical. It'll be just, like I said, just getting everything set up. So please feel free, if you're new to the stream, if you want to put anything in chat, ask me anything related to, it doesn't have to be about the DevNet Expert exam or my journey. It could be about network automation. It could be about anything. So feel free to put anything in the chat as we kind of move through this, and I love the dialogue. So all right, so let's start with the CML. And you can see here we have a couple first lab and postman labs. So I'm actually just going to create a new one here called, let's see, we'll just call this the DevNet Expert lab. Easy enough. And I tried to zoom in, by the way, so that way you guys can see it. If you can't see anything in my browser, if it's tough to view, I would say first check to make sure that the stream quality, make sure that it's not dynamic and that it's set to 720 or 1080, whatever option you have, like the highest option, because for whatever reason YouTube likes to, I don't know if it's downgrading the quality or whatnot, but just make sure that you're streaming or you're watching at the highest quality. And if it's still kind of blurry or if it's still small, just let me know. I'll try to zoom in so that way you guys can actually see what's going on. Blues Colonel says, "Hi Dan, Happy New Year." Happy New Year to you as well. Thank you for being here. Please, if you have any questions throughout, just let me know. Happy to help. Okay, so before we get started, let me go ahead and pop over here. So I got a little bit of audio going as well. All right, so we got our jams going. Let's go ahead and just make a lab simulation. Let me turn it down a little bit. All right. So I don't have the. I know I normally have an overlay for what song's playing or whatnot. All I do is listen to no copyright sounds, or NCS. They have a playlist on Spotify, so I just shuffle that. So if you like any song that's playing, just go to their playlist, and I'm sure you'll find it. All right, so let's start out with. Okay, so we already have. The nice part is with CML as well, is we already have like the virtual images of all the network devices. ISV L2, IOSV 9300. I don't have the 8000V. That actually, we can download the node definition from GitHub, but I don't have the image, so I got to work through that. But I do know that the CSR 1000V is very relative to that, so we'll use that in its place. And then the APIC controller with ACI simulator, I'll tell you this, I know very little about ACI. I've had to mess with it a little bit with the other DevNet exams. I think the associate had it on it. So I have to find that and figure that out and deploy. I probably will have to deploy that on ESXi separately versus in CML. So, but we'll work through that as we get there. Let's see, Ganesh says looks fine to me. Cool, thanks Ganesh. Blues Colonel says that he's also studying for the DevNet Expert certification. However, did you find any way to lab MDT GNMI dial-in? I find the CSR doesn't support it. I haven't got that deep yet. I'm pretty sure though with because I was when I studied for I think it was the NAuto, I had to get that working. I don't know if I got GNMI dial-in working. I'm trying to think. There was one protocol that didn't work. It might be GNMI. I also didn't have any sort of licensing with it, with the CSR image. But either way, we'll get there. With the model-driven telemetry, MDT. So we'll get there. And if it doesn't work, then I'll figure it out. So, but good question. I actually think it may have been the GNMI dial-in with the CSR. If we have some time, I'll actually dive into that, Blues, towards the end of the stream after we get this initial lab set up. Okay, so let's see. We got, okay, yeah, so that's it for the virtual images. The workstation, I already got most of this set up. Python 3.9, Ansible. They offer, it's nice because they offer different IDE, the coding environments. So PyCharm, Vim, Atom, VS Code, I already have that stood up. I got the plugins already in there. Firefox, so there's a couple, Terraform I actually already got. Nginx, Wireshark, Postman. Okay, so I got all these. NSO, I figured I'm actually going to use the DevNet sandboxes for that when we get to that part. I've done a little bit of the learning labs. I believe it was, what's his name? Jason Belk, I believe. I saw he tweeted out a few weeks ago before the holidays about the learning labs. So I actually took a look at them. They're very well structured. So I did about an hour worth of them just to get started, just to have an idea what NSO was, or I knew what it was, just a little more in depth of how it worked. And then the last piece here are the requirements. And I already have that installed. NSO, Yang Suite. Okay, so I can install Yang Suite. And then these third-party software, I also got to take a look at as well. But some of it, like you see here, is the TIG stack, Telegraph, InfluxDB, and Grafana. So, let's see. Oh, Blues is saying you could download NSO from DevNet. Interesting. I'll have to take a look at that, Blues. And make a local install. Okay. I'll make note of that actually. Yeah. So you can make a local install. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks for the advice. Okay. So, anyways, I went through all that, and all I needed actually was this first section. So I actually want to set up, since we don't have the 8000V, I'll use the 1000V Nexus. So I figure what I'll do is set up a 2-router, a very simple topology, because going back to, I have the exam topics open for a reason. Going back to the exam topics, it talks about automating the configuration of network devices. And given that there's a couple, BGP, OSPF, routing protocols, some ACLs, VLAN, static routes interfaces. So it sounds like, you're basically configuring the entire device using, you can automate it using probably, it's going to be very situational, right? Because if you've read through like what the exam is about, you're going to be thrown into different scenarios where, you're given requirements, whether it's from emails, or it's from just a document, right? A high-level document. So, we're going to have to use whatever's tools we have available to us, which luckily we have, that list here. And within this list, the requirements here, I think we have PyTS, we have Scraply, Scraply down here, Scraply netconf, PyTS. So we have a few ways to actually do that. Ansible, there's so many different ways. So the idea is not necessarily build out like a crazy topology, right? Like we don't have to build out 50-site topology, something you might find on the CCIE, right? So we don't have to do that, luckily. But we do need to build something out to where we have connectivity to everything, and potentially build out, a simple topology that ultimately can talk to one another, right? Whether it's through a routing protocol or trunked interfaces at layer 2, we'll need to get that set up. So I'm thinking, let's see, we have IOSV here, IOSV. So I'm thinking we could do 2 routers, right? And I said NXOS 9000. And what was the other one? Oh, CSR. So we'll do CSR and we'll have an external connector, right? So maybe what we'll do then is have a layer 2 switch here. Okay, so we'll do something like this. So we'll have a site that has 2 routers and a Nexus 9000. Let's see. Blue says for netconf you can use Yang Suite. Yeah, yep. So I'll install. I don't have Yang Suite on the Ubuntu VM yet, but yeah, I do plan to use Yang Suite because I have used it in the past. It's much better than shoot. What was the old? There was an old tool that you could use, Yang Explorer, I think. Man, it sucked. It worked, but it was tough to use. But yeah, okay, so to figure out the payloads. Yeah, so I will be definitely using Yang Suite because I'm not sure if you've been in my past streams. I've said it plenty of times. I'm a very visual person. So yeah, I will definitely be using Yang Suite to visualize kind of the Yang structures. Okay. So what we're gonna do is, let me see. So we'll just use gig 0 on all of the devices to connect to the external connector. Oh, maybe not. Oh, hold on. Delete the link. Unmanaged switch. Here we go. All right, cool. So there we go. Let's create this link. Create link. Oops. Create link. We'll see how this works. So the idea is so I might have to put these in like a management VRF, but the idea is I have a connection to all the devices individually. Yeah, so we'll stick this one in management. Okay. Let's see. All right, I think actually I want to plug these guys up. And I know I got to make the topology a little bigger, so I apologize. There we go. So this is kind of messy. Yeah, I have an idea. All right, we're gonna make this like less messy. I'm like looking at this and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be gross. So maybe we do that. Let me see. Alright. And then what we're gonna do is use another unmanaged switch here. And we'll just call it gig 2, gig 2, gig 2. real messy. We'll call this one. Man. We'll call this one management. Blue says iOS V doesn't support netconf. That makes sense. That would make sense because, yeah, 15. Yeah, I mean, you're still running iOS, vanilla iOS 15. That would make sense. Well, that sucks. So I guess we can rule that out. Rule these guys out. I mean, and that's a good point, Blues. Like, let's say there's on the test, the client is like, they have a mix of iOS V and Catalyst 8000V devices. That would rule out, your netconf or using, Yang models, right? Or using Yang models as far as, netconf and restconf as actually, management. Whereas, something like NSO, but you can lab with the Nexus 9K and 1000 CSR 1000V. Yeah, so you can lab it with the Nexus. That's what I was trying to get to. I just kept fumbling my words. That's what I was trying to say. All right. Gig 3. Okay. Oh, this still doesn't look right. I don't like this. Let's see. Let's call this home. All right. Let's see what happens. I really don't like the look of this. Oh, this is painful. I really don't like the look of this. Because I want to be able to plug into all of them. Whatever. Alright, let's just let it rip. It's probably going to choke. Yeah. We have to wait. Figured it won't let me start the Nexus 9K. That's what that error message was. Can't start the Nexus 9K yet because it requires so many resources at once, whereas all the others, I think the iOS V images are like 1 gig of RAM and like 1 or 2 CPUs. It's nothing crazy. So I just hope there's no issues, everything booting up. So the idea, and by the way, I didn't really explain it well, so I apologize, is I'll have a connection back to kind of my home network. I'll use this unmanaged switch here, the unmanaged switch node. We'll pause until load stabilizes. Yeah, I figure. Like melting the server. So anyways, all of these devices will have a quote-unquote management connection, right? Back to my home, so that way I can plug in whether it be from the Ubuntu machine that I have set up here, the Ubuntu VM, or just my Windows computer. I should have direct access to all the devices. And then on the flip side, you have the WAN switch over here, and the only way that these devices, so think of like this as being like one site and this being another, we'll be able to communicate these two sites, quote unquote 2 sites, will only be able to communicate over this, what we're trying to simulate as a WAN environment. So they'll have to communicate over the routers, and these routers I'll probably have I'll have BGP routing between them, or using as the routing protocol, and then the Nexus 9K and the iOS devices will probably be OSPF. And then this layer 2 switch, I probably will try, you know, configuring, do the VLANs and, hold on, where's the, yeah, the VLANs and ACLs, and then like, yeah, and then the interfaces maybe, so, yeah. I'll have them, once they're all booted up, we'll start trying to, I don't really want to configure them, I just want to make sure that they all boot up, because I want to be able to automate that. I want to be able to automate the configuration. So, and we'll do that, like I said, we'll do that through probably a few different ways. One, we'll do PyATS, because you can see here, creating a testbed file for connecting to these different devices, which this is exactly what we have in our CML lab anyways. So we'll do it with PyATS. Let me see. There's other, hold on. There we go. It might be under this section here. Yeah. So create a RESTconf or netconf payload based on a Yang module, create a netconf filter. So what we'll do is we'll use Scraply and we'll use PyATS to more or less automate the configuration, so kind of push it out. And then we'll create the RESTconf and netconf payloads, and probably only to the iOS or the CSR 1000V. We'll configure that as well using these different methods here. And I can't forget Ansible as well. I mean, realistically, like, we're not gonna, I guess I should clarify, we're not gonna set this lab up once and then push out a configuration and just call it quits. There'll be many times where we'll wipe a device or wipe the entire lab and then try again with a new tool or, you know, a new method. So that's kind of just something I have to organize mentally, is, okay, do we want to, you know, PyATS first and Scraply, or PyATS and Scraply side by side, Ansible by itself. I mean, so I got to figure out like that piece of it. So that's why I said, you know, it's tough if we were doing, you know, if I have to do multiple streams a week, there's a chance that, you know, I might have to take one of the 2 days off, so that way I can kind of organize my thoughts and, you know, where to go next. So Blue says, in my opinion, you can add a CSR 1000V and link it to another CSR 1000V just to validate IGP and BGP protocols. Yeah, I agree. And honestly, Blues, it may come down to that. This is kind of just like a first iteration, like something, you know, I figure there's one of every device in this topology. So I figure, you know, this will work. But, you know, as we see here, like, it's still booting up. So there is a chance that I kind of downscale a little bit to just 2 CSRs. But, yeah. For the time being, I just want to see if we can connect everything up. Because I've also actually, like, side note, I've never used the external connector in CML. I've used like the cloud, you know, quote unquote cloud in EvenG. But I've never used the external connector. So I'm going to actually try that first to make sure everything kind of talks to one another, at least from the management side. And then we'll get the WAN side stood up. So, alright, what's this guy doing? Alright, so this guy's already set up. There we go. Alright, so it's working, Just taking a little bit. Let's see. I'm thinking the Nexus. Okay, everything's kind of booted up. The Nexus might just have to be its own beast. So, yeah, I might just have to... So the Nexus I'm actually going to delete. I only say that because it's a beast to boot up. And I think by the time the lab boots up, the entire lab boots up, it's already going to be... It's gonna be like halfway through the stream, so It's just going through its process here. All right, cool. So this is the, oops. Over. Yeah. So this one is, yeah, 1732. So, I mean, that's kind of where we need the 8000V. That's like the big difference, is because here, you know, it says 17.5 for the 8000V, and this one's 17.3.2. Where's that at? I just had it. Anyways, it's there, trust me. 17.3.2. So, alright, script execution, whatever. It's just trying to go through the PNP process. Okay. I think this is the last one. Oh, insert host name. Oh, we'll call this switch one. Oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't see the pain. I was thinking this was a question, but then I didn't even see the little caret sign to basically you know, go into an enable mode and then conf t. I just thought it was more of a question, so yeah, so it's gonna do this. It's domain lookup. Such a great feature. Okay, there we go. Enable t host name. We'll just call it switch one. All right, now let's. Oh, and we'll do no. No IP domain. I think it's lookup, right? Yeah, it's just lookup. I always forget where the dash is. All right, so that way, if we accidentally do that again, it won't have an issue. All right. So we're good. Oops. So we have gig 1. Gig 1 on this device, going back 0, 0, and 0 for the others. So let's see, actually. Gig 0, 0, no shut. I'm actually curious if I just give it a DHCP address. Let me see. Just curious if it will give me a DHCP address. Huh, it did. Let's see though. I needed to do bridge. That's the only issue. Let me see. Oh yeah. Okay. So let me delete. Oops. Delete node. Alright, so let's do this. Let's power this one down. Change it to. Oh, what the? Design, home. No. There we go. Configurations locked. Wipe this node dead. It's config. Oh, great. Okay. I've never actually had to do this. The wipe. There we go. Wipe. Okay. So I guess this wipe now. We'll do bridge, and then we'll power it up. So if we go back to this device, it won't. Oh, I might have to shut. No shut. Yeah, got it. All right. Yeah, blue. Yeah, blue said wipe it. Yep. All right. So we'll get this It should be back up already, so we'll just do shut, no shut, which I think should do it. Maybe. There we go. No shut. Alright. Let's see if it gets a new IP. Okay. I can tell you that's definitely on my LAN. Actually, it won't work because I don't have SSH, but let me do, or no. Let's see. Alright, so let me just ping it. Seven 204. Perfect. Alright, so it works. Cool. Alright, so that should work now. I think that's pretty sweet. So I'm not gonna go through every single device. Like I said, I still gotta figure out like an actual feasible lab design. I think this will work. I don't want to like I said, I don't want to dedicate to it right now. But I think this should work. And then what I'll do is have a separate lab, and maybe that's what we'll do. I kind of don't want to shut this one down though. Oh, I don't have to. I forgot. All right. So we'll create this one. We'll call this one. We'll just. Yeah, we'll do Dev Expert. I don't like this song that much. Just go to the next one. Okay. NXOS. Alright, so we'll just do 2 Nexus devices maybe. Oh, oops. Gosh, I keep wanting to right click on these devices. Alright. So what we'll do is have these 2 devices. What the? Alright, let's try that again. I don't need the management. We'll just create a little simple connection between them. And then we'll just do a little external connector. Remember, I gotta switch it to bridge because I want to be able just to access it directly. We'll use the management interfaces. Crap, hold on. Delete it. Do the unmanaged switch. There we go. Create link. Also, like I said, I apologize for the... It's not easy for me to read sometimes too. Let's do that. I don't know why these... Okay. Alright, so now if we boot these suckers up... Yeah. So the idea is now we have a management interface plugged in to our external, we'll just call it home again. Home. We'll just call it home there. And we'll just call this one management. Alright. So yeah, this one will have okay, that's what that does. Yeah, this one, because the Nexus 9000 switches take up so many resources, we'll just keep this lab kind of on its own. And when we want to deal with Nexus and NX API or anything like that, we'll boot up this lab. I think that's probably good for this one. Like I said, the setup process I'll probably do off stream. I'll kind of do that separately. So we'll keep that there. I gotta rename. I don't think I can rename it though because it's all power. Well, I should be able to actually. Full topo. I'll just call it full topology. I think that's a better way of describing it. And then I'm gonna do one more, and I'm gonna call this one DevNet Expert CSRs. But I need the catalyst 8,000 feet. I really got to figure that situation out. But for the time being, we'll kind of do the same thing as we did with Nexus. So we'll do home, and we'll call it management. Let's switch again. I really just need like a chill. Probably need to switch it up. I just need like a chill background. Don't need anything crazy. All right. So let's see. All right. So we're gonna just do. We'll do gig E1. So we'll just do gig 1 from both CSRs, and then we'll just do gig 2 between them. I think that makes sense. Yeah. All right. I think that's pretty good, right? We have just to recap. Oh, I gotta change this before I forget. Node info. There we go. Bridge. All right. So that's set up as bridge. All right. So we kind of have a full topology. So I'm thinking this one will be like a. I'm thinking this is like PyTS Ansible feels here, because with PyTS and Ansible, you know, we'll define the inventory and like a testbed file for PyTS, and then the other two, NXOS and the CSRs. I'm thinking we probably could do like that's where we'll test our you know, our Yang modules. We'll build our payloads and send via netconf and restconf and test that out. Blues says he has to go. See you later. All right. Hey, thanks for joining. Sorry I didn't get to your question about the GNMI, but don't worry. If you stick around over the next few months, we'll definitely be covering it. So. All right, so let's see. So I think that's it. We have our lab set up. I have to, like I said, I'm gonna do a little research on the APIC controller, and figure out how to deploy that. And then the NSO local installation, I gotta figure that out as well. But everything else pretty much is done. Yeah. So let me see if I can write in these logs. Oh wait, no, lab info. Okay. Used to maybe Ansible, PyTS. Automation. That's it. Alright, so it's always good to take a look at the exam topics again. So there's a lot with these exam topics. I spend, like I said, over the holidays, I spend a good amount of time reviewing them, figuring out like a mix between the books and labs, what I can cover, what topics and subjects I can cover. So, like I said, the first one's about more or less the software design and deployment. So I'm kind of, with that clean architecture book, I'm learning a lot about software design, and then we'll dive into the kind of the deployment aspect later. So we'll kind of close that. infrastructure as code. These are all talking about scalable solutions, building a Python REST API. I thought this one was interesting. Consume and use a new REST API. So it's more or less testing your I wouldn't even call it knowledge, intuition, I would say, of reading documentation and acting on it. So it's more or less around kind of the application of REST APIs. The RESTconf and NetConf payloads with the Yang module. So I'm really excited to read this book here about network programmability with Yang and the structure using Yang, NetConf, RESTconf, and GNMI. I think this book's gonna be awesome. I'm really excited to read that. I think I'm set to read that. I have to look in my notes, but it's gonna be, I think, in mid-February. I'm gonna start reading that one, so it should be pretty fun. Okay, so the RESTconf and NetConf one. So actually, I'll go back to these topics here. So the idea and the reason I'm kind of going through the topics and then going back to CML is I'm trying to put in here in the lab description what I'll be used, like what I'm using the lab for, right? So this one is used for NetConf, RESTconf, Yang. And I know these aren't all the same thing. Like they're completely different. And GNMI. Alright. So we'll be testing those. And we probably could do that as well in the Nexus. Okay. So creating those payloads, like Blue said earlier, using Yang Suite will make it very much easier. Definitely make it much easier, but ultimately it'll just make it more fun as well. Creating using Ansible. So like I said, Ansible we will use in the one. Here we go. HTTP API and NetConf. So we'll put on here Ansible NetConf connection plugin. And then we'll go back to the NXOS because we're going to use the HTTP for Ansible HTTP API connection plugin. So we'll kind of, like I said, we'll kind of just go back and forth on what's here, and we'll make sure we test every aspect. Like I said, we're diving deep into this stuff, so we need to test each piece and what's outlined here in the topics. Terraform, probably going to be using. I have an Azure and an AWS account. I'll probably be using both to test that and test each of these concepts here. NSO service package. Like I said, I got to dive deeper into that, and so I'm not gonna comment. I don't know which lab I'm gonna use. If I had to guess, I'll probably use the CSR one. So I'll just make a note in the CSR lab. So we'll just kind of dive back to the CSR lab, and then we'll say NSO services. And like I said, these are just notes, so it's not anything formal. And that's, the rest is just verifying NSO. Okay. So this part here, create, modify, troubleshoot scripts with SDK documentation. This will just be reviewing APIs and using the DevNet sandbox. Automating the configuration. This is going to be, it's based on architecture and configuration. So these are like, okay, you got to kind of have to know how to use every piece of it. The RESTconf, NetConf, Yang modules, Scrapply, PyATS. You're going to have to know like how to configure all this through each of those tools or libraries. So we'll just kind of have to keep this as like the legend. This is like, this is what we're going to be kind of guiding our configuration on each of these topics. Deploy an application by leveraging the guest shell. I think I can use the CSR for this. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I can just... Actually, let me just go over to this topology. I'm gonna say it should be pretty straightforward. I can just get to the console. Okay. I think yeah, that's what I thought. Alright, so I think it's just iOS, yeah. And then, oops, there we go. Yeah. So iOS server has been notified to start. Okay, so we should be able to do that in here. Oh, lab info. I probably should have put everything in lab notes. I keep saying they're notes, and I'm putting it in lab info. Whatever. iOS XE guest shell. The only thing with that is, I'll have to figure it out. And application and app hosting. App hosting. Okay. And some of this stuff isn't really foreign. Some of this you had to do on the dev core, the NAuto, the associate. So, not really too nervous about anything. Design a model-driven telemetry solution based on given requirements. So, the GNMI, gRPC, netconf. This will probably have to be MDT. We'll probably just stick with the CSRs for MDT. We probably should look at Nexus as well. Create a Yang model driven telemetry subscription. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, right? Going back to, there's multiple ways to configure a device, and what you're actually going to be using or what you're actually going to be configuring is referencing another exam topic. So like in this case, right, we know how we're going to be pulling that data from the devices. And then here are all the different options that we need to, know. On change versus event driven, the frequency of the pushes, the dial out subscription, and so on, the security. So let's see, and that's about it I'm pretty sure that's about it. Yeah, that's about it, because the last piece is just security. As far as network automation, and when I say network automation, like actually configuring network devices and automating the configuration aspects. So definitely not short of busy for, if we just highlight some of the description, we'll be messing with a lot of different protocols, a lot of different transport methods, a lot of different tools. So, let me add to this Nexus MDT. Okay. All right. So I kind of made note of everything. So the nice part is we'll be using each of these labs for the different as we move through the topics, the exam topics. As far as how we'll be moving through the exam topics, that's going to be a different. It's going to be a little different. It's not going to be just going from topic 1 down through topic 5. I kind of had it laid out, and I'm going to pull up my notes real quick. Just as so this week, like I said, is Linux. So we'll be this is more or less just me diving into the books. Since I have a pretty strong understanding of Linux, there's not much to stream or go into. So next week and potentially next stream, probably next week though, we'll be diving more into Python and building out a Flask API, and potentially looking at API calls with the different Cisco products that were shown, I believe in exam topic 3. Yeah, 3.1. We'll take a look at some of these services. The following week, it's a long weekend. It's MLK Jr.'s birthday. And so yeah, so that one I have down Terraform to take a look at that week. That'll kind of be tentative. Like I said, I'll be out part of that week, just kind of the first half of that week. So we'll take a look at that though, potentially Terraform. And then after that, it's going to be more into XML, JSON, YAML, Yang, RESTconf, NetConf, GNMI, TigStack. Yeah, you get the point. We kind of start going more into the network automation aspects. And yeah, I mean, pretty much from what week was that? Let's see. The end of about the last week of January. So last week of January all the way through almost the third week of March. So like March 21st, the week of March 21st. We'll be looking at Yang heavily. We'll be looking at how we can use Yang to configure devices using RESTconf, NetConf, as kind of the transports, and then the XML and JSON as the encoding, data encoding. And then after that, yeah, we'll dive into model-driven telemetry, and once again, you're using Yang modules there as well. So the Yang is huge for this exam, especially like if you don't know Yang or how to build a module or read a model, then you're kind of screwed. So that's why there's such a heavy, about a month and a half of focus on Yang and the different aspects, configuring, telemetry, and whatnot. Yeah, and then, yeah, like I said, March 21st, and this is all tentative. I'm just kind of pulling out highlights in the schedule. March 21st, we'll be starting to look at containers and Kubernetes. And that goes basically through the beginning of April, and then the last couple weeks of April, kind of in that review state, and then we take the test in beginning of May. So the only aspect I would say I didn't cover thoroughly in my highlight was or my schedule was the security aspects. Surprisingly, it looks like there's not many topics, but there's less topics than containers, but containers is 10% of the test, whereas security is 15%. So it's not that I'm gonna, ignore this, because you can see that I'll be applying some of these aspects and methods all the way throughout, the preparation. So like using tokens, headers, and secrets for a REST API, we'll be doing that when we create a REST API. Using secret management systems, input validation, reviewing the OWASP secure coding practices. There's going to be a lot that we do, kind of during the other studies. So I'm not saying we're not touching security. We're definitely going to be integrating it. It's just going to be in parallel, or, in tandem, I should say, with the other exam topics. So, all right. I think that's it. I'm not gonna. I didn't want to go too long. Like I said, with the amount of topics and the amount of focus I need with some of these topics, I want the exam or the streams to be more focused on just the exam topic, and then that's it. I don't want to kind of go too deep into anything else. And so that's kind of all I had for this stream. I wanted just to go over, high level what we'll be doing, and I kind of even went a little in depth on timing wise on what subjects we'll be looking at during the stream, and then what we'll be accomplishing. So this stream, like you can see, is pretty obvious. All I did was go through the different lab setups, and the next stream we'll probably look again at the lab setups and maybe do a little more additional configuration. I really haven't thought that far ahead. Like I said, I've been so focused on the kind of the preparation and the planning aspects that the streams I just haven't planned out too far ahead. But I'll try to have something for Thursday. If for whatever reason, I fall behind on, whether it be the reading or getting, the stream prepared, then we'll just kind of move and shift everything to next Tuesday and kind of go from there. So yeah, if there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat now before, the stream winds down. But, for those that are still watching, I appreciate you being here. Whether you're studying for the DevNet Expert or not, I know Blues, he was very active tonight. He or she was very active tonight. And so, I like that. I really do. I like that, if I want this to be very collaborative. As you can see, there's going to be a lot that I do off stream with the amount of work that needs to be done. I'll be doing at least, a couple hours a night, and then weekends, who knows. So there's going to be a lot that's done off stream, so you won't see everything that goes on, but I definitely want these streams to have, a vibe with it. So if you have questions about anything, it doesn't just have to be about the DevNet Expert, it can be about network automation. Feel free to put it in the chat and we can talk about it. So that's all I had. So the last thing I wanted to bring up was, as far as, I actually had it wrote down here. Yeah, so as far as the stream itself, I want to make the stream a little higher quality this year. There won't be any sort of like crazy improvements, but two that I'm looking at, or three that I'm looking at. One, I'm gonna try to get a little better lighting. So right now I kind of have like 2 or 3 different lights on around me, and one's a lamp. So I'll try to figure that out. I don't know, the lighting is just like a afterthought, but I know like streamers and other people, they use like light ring or something like that. I don't know, I have to look into it. So I might do something like that. More importantly, I'm looking at trying to get some sort of small like green screen behind me. So right now, I don't know if you guys notice, like when I move like this, you can kind of see it's a little gritty around the edges, around my head and shoulders sometimes. And then if I wear like a black shirt, it really is bad. But that's because I'm using this software that basically creates like a digital green screen. And like, sorry, I was just looking at myself on the stream. Yeah, so I personally, it bothers me, just having like part of my head just get chopped off randomly. So I'm gonna try to get that situated here soon, so that way I don't have just random glitches and half my head's missing sometimes when I move too quick. And then the last kind of improvement I'm gonna make to the stream are overlays. So I'm gonna try to get some actual better stream quality, I guess you could call it. So like a border maybe, or like the chat window right now, for example, it's just the default like YouTube chat window. If there's any way I could make that look better, I did have it look cool at one point when I was streaming to Twitch, but YouTube's a little bit different, so I just have to figure it out. But those are the kind of the big things that I'll be trying to improve the stream. Like I said, I'm glad you guys, if you tune in the stream, that you invest your time, I'll call it, watching the stream actually. So I want to make it worth your while. Besides the content, just make it look a little nicer. But just want to put out some plans for the stream as well. But all right, well, that is all I had. I just want to say thank you for kind of sticking with me. I know it seems like in the beginning I was talking almost like I hit the reset button on the DevNet Expert streams. In a way, I would say I did. I'm just trying to, be a little more locked in, especially with the exam topics. Up to this point, we've looked at I think we messed around with the CML API. We've messed around with Container Lab and some other tools and cool stuff. But now I really want to lock into the exam topics themselves and make it, because in May, ultimately, I want to be, one of the first ones to pass the lab exam. So I'm gonna, like I said, there's a lot being done off stream, but we'll focus while we're on the stream as well. So, all right. Well, thank you for tuning in, and just look out on my Twitter at DevNetDan for updates about Thursday's stream, and we'll kind of just take it from there. But yeah, if you have questions or feedback in the meantime, Twitter's probably the best way to get in touch with me. So again, that's at DevNetDan. Pretty straightforward. But yeah, until next time, I will talk to you all later. Thanks.
Till I get up, time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And